Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this gorgeous fall florals crochet granny square. And if you want to just learn how to make the granny square, I'll show you exactly how to do that. But if you would like to make the entire table runner, I will show you all of the details for that as well. You just need a handful of materials to make your fall florals crochet granny squares. You probably already have a lot of them in your stash already, but you do need yarn, and you can use any weight yarn that you already have. I just happen to have this worsted weight yarn in my stash, and I used a 5mm crochet hook. You'll also need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. I ended up using the Yarn Bee Comfy Classic in the colors gold, blush, clay, ocean water, and khaki. But use the yarn that you already have in your stash and look for the yarn label to see what the recommended crochet hook size is. And if you're the kind of person who likes to have the written directions, you'll find a link to the pattern in the description box below. Let's get started. So there are two different ways that you can start your project, and it really just is personal preference. I'm going to be using the magic ring, but if you're not comfortable with the magic ring or you just like to start with a chain, I will show you how to do that first. So we're going to make a slip knot. Just wrap this around my two fingers, pull this through, and I have my nice little slip knot here. And I'm just going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then I'm going to look for the first chain right here, and I'm going to go into this loop here, but I'm also going to look for that back bump, and I'm going to go underneath that as well so that I'm right in that stitch. I'm going to pull through and then pull through. So we just slip stitch into that first stitch. And from this point forward, it's exactly the same whether you choose to do the chain 4 or if you want to do the magic ring. For round 1, you'll always be working right into this center area, and I'll just show you with this. We start with a chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This counts as a double crochet plus a chain 2. So I'm going to make another double crochet right in the center of our ring here that we made. Just going to do a double crochet, chain 2. And we're going to do that all the way around. You'll have 8 double crochets and chain 2. And remember, we're going to count that first chain 5 as a double crochet and a chain 2. I'm going to show you with the magic ring as well. I just lay the yarn across the palm of my hand and holding it with my thumb. I'm going to bring the other yarn around my 3 fingers here, and I'm going to cross it over. And then I'm going to hold it with my thumb and bring this back around, and I just hold the yarn with my pinky over here. I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm going to go under the first one, pull the second one, and I'm going to twist it clockwise. Then I'm going to go under this strand of yarn and pull it all the way through. And then I have my magic ring here. And if you would like another video that goes a little bit more in depth into how to make a magic ring, please check the description box below. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's going to count as our double crochet plus a chain 2. Now I'm going to be doing double crochet, chain 2 7 more times all the way around. This one is our first one. We just finished our second, and we're going to be creating 8 of these in total. It can feel really funny holding the magic ring when you're working into it, and that just takes practice. So if you don't like this method, go back and do the chain 4. It looks just as good. Let me see how many I have right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. And always end with a chain 2. If you started with the chain 4, you won't need to do this step because your ring is already closed, but we need to close our magic ring, and we're just going to pull our tail all the way nice and tight until it's closed. And we're going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3. So there's 1, 2, and 3. I find the front leg and I go right under the second leg. And that way I have both V's of the stitch underneath my crochet hook. And then we will pull under both of those legs and slip it through. Then we will fasten off here, and I will pull the tail all the way through. Make sure that the magic ring is nice and tightly closed. And I'm going to go ahead and weave in my ends. Just go ahead and do it now because it's never fun to wait and have to do it later. And I find the best is to go through a few stitches, then go back a stitch or two, then go back through, because the more you weave this in, the less likely it will be to pull out. And then I'll go in the opposite direction. All right. The way I like to weave in the ends when I'm on the outside of my round is I go under both legs of the next stitch. And then I go under the back leg of the stitch just to the right. And it just looks really neat, and it ends up just looking like a stitch. So I like how that looks.
Before we move on to round 2, I want to check in with today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning platform for creative-minded people, and you are going to love all of the crochet classes that are available on Skillshare. One of my favorites is Modern Crochet Essential Skills for Getting Started by Toni Lipsey. If you don't know Toni, you need to. She is an incredible crochet teacher, and this class will take you from a very beginning, but also you'll learn some advanced techniques, and don't miss her class on color theory. It is really, really, really good. One of the things that I love about Skillshare is that you can learn anything from the comforts of your own home, and all of the videos are ad-free. Yay! And the most wonderful part is that Skillshare is offering the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description box below a 1-month free trial. That is a wonderful gift. So thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video, and let's go on to round number 2.
For round 2, we're going to start with our second color, and we're just going to make a slip knot. And we're going to join into any one of the chain 2 spaces that we made from the previous round. We're going to just make a little slip knot here, and we're going to chain 4, 2, 3, and 4. And this is going to count as our first treble stitch. For a treble stitch, we just wrap the yarn around twice. We're going to go back into that same space. We yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to make 4 of these trebles in each one of our chain 2 spaces from the previous round. And once you finish that last treble, we're going to leave a long loop here. And we're going to go back to our first chain 4 that we made, and we're going to go under the 2 legs of the top chain 4. We're going to go under both of those legs of the V, and then we're going to insert our hook into the loop, and we're going to pull it through that top of that chain 4 space that we did, and we're just now going to chain 2. And we're going to make this popcorn stitch all the way around by making 4 treble stitches in each one of the chain 2 spaces. My yarn is a little bit splitty. That's okay. I don't mind it. Leave my long loop. Now that we already have our treble, it's a lot easier to just go under the V of that stitch. So we're going under the V, grabbing our loop, tightening that up a little bit and pulling through, and then we chain 2. And then we do it all over again. So we're going to do this all the way around in each one of the chain 2 spaces. Go ahead and finish all the way around, and I will show you how we are going to close our popcorn stitch round. You should have finished your 8 popcorns and ended with a chain 2. And what I want you to do is just kind of pull a loop up here, and we're going to look on the back of our very first popcorn that we made. And I want you to see where these 2 stitches come together right here at the back, where it attaches to our back of our popcorn. And right below that is actually a little loop right here. And we're going to attach into that area right there because I have found that it's just easier and it looks neater and I can find it every single time. And we're just going to slip stitch right there, and we can fasten off and weave in our ends. Now it's time to make our cute little popcorn flower into an actual granny square. So go ahead and get your background color. I've chosen like this teal color green, which I think looks really pretty. And we're just going to make a slip knot. And we're going to look for those chain 2 spaces between those popcorn stitches. And we're just going to attach our yarn there with a slip stitch. And we're going to start with a corner, and we're going to chain 3. Then we're going to make 2 more double crochet in that chain 2 space. And I'm going to just slide it over a little bit, and I'm going to chain 2. And then I'm going to make 3 double crochet in this chain 2 space. And that first chain 3 that we made actually counts as a double crochet. So this is actually our corner now, and we're going to chain 1. We're going to move on to the next chain 2 space from our popcorn round, and we're going to make 3 double crochet. And this is the side of our granny square. And we're going to chain 1, and we're going to make another corner. So we go into that space, double crochet 3 times, chain 2, move it over, double crochet 3 more times. And now we will chain 1. We're going to make the side and do double crochet 3 times into that chain 2 space. We'll chain 1, and we will make our next corner. And that's 3 double crochet, chain 2, move it over, and then 3 more double crochet. So now you can start to see it starting to look like a little square. We need to chain 1, and we're going to make the side with 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. We need to chain 1, and then we're going to make another corner. So we make 3 double crochet in that chain 2 space. We need to chain 2, move it over, make 3 more double crochet. Chain 1. And now we're making our last side, which is just 3 double crochet, chain 1, and then we're going to look for the top of that chain 3 from our very beginning, and we're just going to go under the front leg of that stitch and go under the back leg of that stitch, and we're going to slip stitch to close. I'm going to go ahead and weave in my ends now, but I also want to show you the join as you go method, which is what I have done for my project here. It makes it so much simpler and you don't have to sew all of these on. And the way that we do that is I'm going to go ahead and make my next square, and I'm only going to finish part of one side, and I'll show you exactly how I do that. So I've made my second little popcorn flower here, and I'm going to go ahead and only make a partial side of the granny square. I'm going to start with a corner and do it just like we did our first granny square, and just make our chain 3, double crochet twice, chain 2, make 3 double crochet here. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to do my 3 double crochet here. Chain 1. Now I'm only going to make 3 double crochet here. You're going to join all of these granny squares the same way, and when you're just going up one row, it's exactly the same. It's really simple. And then I will show you once we start adding these and we have to join them on 2 sides. But for right now, I'll show you how to join one side. So we need to look for that chain 2 space in the corner, and it's right here. And what we're going to do is, instead of chaining 2 right now, we're going to slip stitch into that corner. And what I do is I go on top. I'm coming from above the square. I'm not coming underneath. I put my hook right into that chain 2 space. I use my thumb a little bit to help hold the yarn down, and I pull it through and I pull it through to make a slip stitch. That's going to count as our first chain. Now I'm going to actually chain, that's our second chain. And now I'm going to just do 3 double crochet right here in this corner to finish it. Now, instead of chaining 1 like we did before, I'm going to find the chain 1 space from our previous granny square, and I'm going to slip stitch into that just like we did before. So I'm coming above it, going down, taking my thumb and holding that working yarn, pulling through, slip stitching, and I'm not going to chain because that counted as our chain. Now I am going to do 3 double crochet to make the side of my granny square. And instead of chaining 1, I'm going to go right into that chain 1 space from our previous granny square. I'm coming in from the top, grabbing my working yarn and slip stitching. I'm coming into our next corner space and I am going to make 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. And instead of chaining 2, I'm locating the chain 2 space from our previous granny square. I'm going in from the top, slip stitching, and that's our first chain, and then I'm going to actually chain to count as our second chain. Then I am going to do 3 double crochet to finish the square. Not the square, to finish the corner. And so we've joined our granny squares. This is why I love this method so much, is that these are already joined now. Then I will continue around just like I would with a chain because we have nothing to work into, and double crocheting and continuing the normal granny square pattern around. And then I'll meet you back for when we are going to actually join a granny square on 2 sides. And that one is a little bit more complicated, but it's basically the exact same idea that we've been doing. Once you're at the point where you are ready to join your squares on 2 sides, I'll show you exactly how to do it. It's very similar to what we did before. We just have to take into consideration this corner right here. With this granny square, I've made one corner and one side. I did one chain. Now I'm ready to do my corner, and I'm just going to do 3 double crochet. I'm not going to do any chains for my corner. I'm just going to go into my chain 2 space from this square right here that I will be joining to. Coming from the top, slip stitching and chaining 1. So that counts as our 2 chain right there at the corner. Now I will make 3 double crochet. This is exactly like we did when we were just joining on one side. Now instead of chaining 1, I'm going to join to this chain 1 space here just by going down and slip stitching. Now I'm making my side with 3 double crochet. Now I'm going to join again instead of doing my chain 1, and we're starting our corner here. So I'm going to make 3 double crochet. Now, normally we would do 2 chain here, but we're not going to do this. We're going to join into this chain 2 space. This is the granny square that we're joining to, so I'm going to join right into that chain 2 space and slip stitch. Now I'm going to go into the other square that we're going to be joining to, and I'm going to find that chain 2 space, and I'm going to go into that space from the top and pull through the slip stitch and then double crochet 3 times just like we did before. And this is when it gets a little bit finicky because you're joining to 2 sides. And then we just do exactly like we've done. We will use this chain 1 space to join to, and we will slip stitch and then make our side with 3 double crochet. And we will join to that chain 1 space, 3 double crochet. We are at our corner now. And we're going to join to that chain 2 space, slip stitch chain 1, and do 3 double crochet. Chain 1, 3 double crochet for our last side. Oh, and I was almost out of yarn. Look at that. I won yarn chicken. Chain 1. Now we will join to the top of our chain 3. If I can find, there we go. And pull it through and weave in my ends. Now that your beautiful granny squares are all joined, we are going to do a granny border all the way around, and I'm going to use my background color, and I just think this looks really good. And what we're going to do is just join into any corner space that you did from one of your granny squares, and we're going to chain 3. And basically we're going to just go right into all of those chain spaces to make our little granny clusters. But we're going to do one thing when we get to the areas that we joined our 2 squares together. Because if we were to continue to make granny clusters in each one of these, we're going to have too many stitches and it's going to start to buckle, and we want this to lay flat. So you're going to do 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and I started with a chain 3, but it acts as my first double crochet. Now I'm going to chain 1 just like we did when we were making our squares. Now I'm just going to do 3 double crochet right here in the chain 1 space from our granny square. Chain 1, and we're going to do one more 3 double crochet right here in that chain 1 space from our granny square. But what we're going to do here in our corner space where we've joined two of the granny squares together is going to be a little bit different. We still need to chain one right here. Now locate your chain two space in your corner, and we're going to make one double crochet. Now we're going to make a double crochet decrease, and I'll show you exactly how to do that. We're just going to yarn over like a normal double crochet. We'll pull up our loop, and we're just going to yarn over and go through two of the loops. We're going to leave two on our hook. We're going to yarn over again, and we're going to go into our second square into that chain two corner space. We're going to pull up a loop and go through two, and then now we should have three loops on our hook, and we're going to go through all three of those, and then we're going to double crochet one more time in here. One of the reasons why we want to do this is that if we were to make 3 double crochet here and 3 double crochet here, we're going to end up having a bubbly, wonky, ruffly effect. That's really not what we're going for. And I learned this technique from Hooked by Robin, and she actually has a whole video for it, and I'll link it in the description box below. She has a wonderful channel. I thought this was such a good way to add a granny border all the way around. So we're just going to chain one, and we're just going to do the exact same thing all the way across our granny table runner or whatever kind of granny project you are making. And you'll just make 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet in each corner, and just work your way all the way around, and then I'll show you what we're going to do for the final round. Now that you've finished your granny border, we're going to just add one simple little contrast border to the entire project. I really played around with a lot of different borders. I tried a ruffled border, I tried more intricate borders, and I finally just decided that this didn't need that. This project only needs a very simple border because I really want the focus to be on these gorgeous fall colored flowers. So what I'm just doing is I'm going to get my yarn, obviously, and we're going to go into the last stitch here before our chain 2 of our corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a standing single crochet, but I'm going to do it in the back loop only. So into the back loop, instead of slip stitching, I'm just going to yarn over, pull through, and I'm just going to pull through both of my loops. That's a standing single crochet. So then I'm looking at the next stitch, which is really the central stitch in my chain 2 space from the granny round that we did previously. And I'm going to do 2 single crochet in that back loop only. Now I'm watching my tension here because I don't want to be super tight, but I don't want to be super loose either. I want to try to match my tension from the previous rounds and maybe just be a tiny bit looser. And then I'm just going to make a single crochet in the back loops of each and every one of the stitches around. And when I get to the corner, I make 2 single crochet in the back loop only in those corner central stitches. And I really think that this polishes this little project off, makes it look really nice, but it's super simple because I don't think it needs anything complicated. And that's it. Just make your way all the way around and then slip stitch to the top of your standing single crochet and you're finished. Congratulations! I hope you enjoyed making your fall florals crochet granny squares, and if you made it into a table runner or you made it into any other project, I would love to see it, and tag me on Instagram at Le Petit Saint Crochet. Stay safe out there and happy stitching!